Hey everybody, it's me, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Ghalta, Primal Hunger.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 131 of the Commander's Brew podcast. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. I did eat, so I am not currently primally hungry.
You cannot be described as primal hunger right now.
I feel like it just occurred to me which descriptor of the Elder Dinos most describes you, and I think primal hunger might be me.
What are all of them? There's primal hunger. It's all primal something, right?
Yeah.
We've got Itali Primal Storm.
Okay.
Nezahal's Primal Tide.
You know what? None of them are as exciting as Primal Hunger.
Primal Death and Primal Dawn. Primal Hunger is the only one that can even describe a person. Hi, my name's Jerry. I work at the Kinko's, and I would describe myself as a primal tide.
I appreciate clean clothes, and I always separate my laundry into piles.
And don't eat the pods. There's also primal calamity. Is a comma is the primal calamity. So someone could be a primal calamity, I suppose.
Yeah. I feel like I've met a primal calamity before.
Well, yeah, here we go. This is episode 131, and we're doing a classic bit here on Commander's Brew. Of course, we build decks, commander decks, $50 or less. Why don't you take the rest of the business over?
Yeah, $50 or less. That's how we do it. No card over $5 probably. Although we stray from that sometimes, but it just kills your whole budget, right? If
it
you
hurts.
put a $15 card in there, then you got nothing for the rest of it.
Very little to work with after that.
And as always, brought to you by our wonderful patrons from patreon.com. You can head over there if you want to help support that way. Another great way to support if you're busy earning dollars and all those dollars got to go pay bills. That's cool too. Maybe skip on over to iTunes and just give us a little 5-star there. That actually does. It does matter. Those kind of things matter, and we don't mention that much, but that's a thing we can do too if you want to be supportive, if you feel like it. But just listening is just what an honor, what a treat.
Yeah.
And part of how we do what we do is thanks to the generous support of Ultimate Guard Sleeves and Boxes and the Wizard Tower, wizardtower.ca, and we got an ad for the Wizard Tower here now. Okay, who Jace? Right, who Jace? I've been living here on Ixalan near the dinosaurs for a long time. And who this Jace? Who this Jace show up trying to, I don't know what he do, make illusions? It confused me and I don't like it. Am I a Forrest Gump? I might be Forrest Gump, I just realized. Anyway, who Jace? And secondly, why he in my business? Just trying to grow my turnips on my farm and then sometimes shop at Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com, to get free shipping anywhere in Canada or the US if I spend $15 or more on singles. Not to mention, if I use coupon code BREWYEAR for January, stay tuned for February's code, I'm going to get an extra 5% off. And also, Jenny, I get 3% kickback on my next order. Ain't that a box of chocolates if I ever did see. Alright, who Jace? Either Forrest Gump exists on other planes.
What?
Or I'm not sure. That's a hard one to analyze.
Well, let's just leave it as it is. We'll let people figure that one out themselves.
Okay. But I mean, definitely brew year at
brew year. Well, I mean, for now, but in February it's going to be something different.
That's right. Any day. We don't have that one yet, do we?
No.
Okay.
It should be like I love brews. I love brews.
Oh yeah,
all lowercase, I guess. Does that even matter
I
with
don't think
coupon
that
codes?
matters. No.
Yeah, I love brews. Well,
That's what. Let's just say it's going to be that right away, right now.
if we write the guy who makes the codes, we could bully him into making it that.
Deal. We're gonna bully him. You better do it or else, nerd.
Or else we'll take your milk.
Oh, I'm taking your milk. You just better hope I don't pound you afterwards. The Commander's Brew bully segment, where we just bully someone.
I mean, that's sort of what the Commander's Burn was.
Yeah, we just bully a card. There was one person who was like, "It's bullying no matter what you're talking to." It's like, really? It's just a card. It's not real. It's not a real person. Anyways, yes, episode 131. We chose to take a look at one of the legendary creatures from the new set, Rivals of Ixalan. And you know what? There's a lot to choose from here. There's some really cool legendaries, multicolored, monocolored, all kinds. They really run the gamut here. But we've been one really caught my eye, and then another one I couldn't I mentioned it on the show and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Well, one was Atali and one was Ghalta, the two mono-colored ones actually. And Atali, I think so many people are excited about it. A lot of people brewing decks around it. It's great. But then Ghalta just wouldn't get out of my head, and I feel like it was the same with Sean because he's the one who actually mentioned it to me. Ghalta, so that's what we decided to do. We decided to do Ghalta, mono green. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I'm hitting the wrong thing. So Ghalta's mono green. He's an elder dinosaur. He's like a classic Tyrannosaurus Rex, right? There's no three heads. There's no weird feathers. Ghalta is just the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, basically.
With even smaller arms. I feel like they almost went to the art department hey, you know how a T-Rex has small arms? Make him as small as possible without being funny. And they might be funny. I think it might be funny how small his hands are.
So I'm looking at the picture of Ghalta, and he's got the teeniest, tiniest little arms. And then I'm looking at a picture of what's it called? A bunch of the T-Rex bones. And that's about how big their arms are.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then there's a whole bit on the arms on the Wikipedia site, and it's they don't exactly know why their hands were that small. What? Did they turn into wings? T-Rexes didn't turn into birds, right? Themselves. That's. I guess I don't fully understand evolution, but I don't even know if it's accepted that the dinosaurs did evolve into birds. Isn't that still just some people are just maybe. Didn't most of them die from the meteor? The meteor hit. That killed the dinosaurs, for real. And then the surviving ones evolved, right?
I don't know. I feel like some evolved into birds, and the birds lived and the dinos died. Because that's right. Because evolution, one species doesn't transform entirely. They all exist. So birds existed with dinos.
Yeah.
But I think birds came from the din. I don't know. I'm not a paleobotanist.
That's about plants. But yeah, that's
Dr. Ellie Sattler.
Yeah, Ellie, that's right, yeah.
Oh, Nora, my Sam Neill's character.
Okay, so I'm reading just a quick thing about the arms again. Strongly suggested that Tyrannosaurus Rex had similar forelimbs. Okay, so so I'm reading this Wikipedia. I'm trying to get this across to you guys what I just read because it's very funny. The first Tyrannosaurus Rex with complete forelimbs was identified in 1989, belonging to Moore 555, which I guess is the classification and number for that specific T-Rex. And his name they nicknamed him the Wankle Rex. The Wankle?
Wait, did you just say the first T-Rex was made in 1989?
No, the first complete Tyrannosaurus Rex forelimbs were identified in 1989. So I think that means that they just found the first complete actual full forelimbs.
Well, while you
And
were
the
researching
Wankle
that,
Rex. Oh, Wankle. He's got those tiny little arms.
Wankle Rex, I looked up the alternate. I wanted to see if there was other art for Ghalta, and there's that sort of like full art promo
Oh,
Ghalta.
is there?
I don't
Oh, yeah.
know. And then so on that one, it's sort of a front view, and he still has the super tiny arms, but he's in a like the arms are in a weird pose, like he's kind of
Yeah.
like trying to flex with
It
them.
looks like he's
like,
going, "Ruh," like he looks like he's flexing.
come at me,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
And it's like, Ghalta, I respect your intimidating jaws and like thighs. You don't need to add the arms to be scarier. You are as scary as can be.
Look at my muscles, dude. They're real big.
Can you imagine a T-Rex doing like classic like bicep flex?
Yeah.
Like those tiny arms.
I'm super strong, man. It's like, okay, Ghalta.
You
like,
are.
You are. But let's not, let's be honest here. It's mostly situated around your legs and like head. No, dude, I'm super strong. Again,
No
yes,
one-
you
no
are.
one is
Again.
disagree.
Look at these muscles, man. Those are
Those muscles
yeah,
are small.
Those ones,
Your leg muscles.
not those ones
very
though.
big.
Those ones look like my arms were put on you, and you're 20 times my size.
Oh my god, that's the Photoshop challenge of the day.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, this is the thing though. Like, I wonder if the T-Rex's arms are really the T-Rex's arms. Like you, like you were saying earlier, it's like, did they just accidentally put the wrong, like, find other bones and go like, well, this looks like it belongs here, but really the T-Rex had huge, beefy, strong arms. Like, you know what I mean? Like, would make sense.
I don't know, man.
Instead, we were just like, these little arms were right next to the T-Rex. That's probably his arms, I guess.
It's like he has little chicken wing arms.
Yeah. Maybe they turned into wings. Maybe that's what happened. He learned to fly. Anyways, Ghalta Primal Hunger
fighters.
is just a monster. It's 10 and 2 green to cast. So 12 mana in total. For a 12/12, Elder Dinosaur with Trample. Ghalta Primal Hunger costs X generic mana less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control. So, as you can probably imagine, Ghalta rarely costs the full 12, if ever. You don't really ever want to cast Ghalta for 12, although I guess if you had it, you could. But yeah, the idea is to reduce Ghalta's cost and to get him out as much as possible. I mean, Ghalta could also be a lady. Who knows? I don't know. There's probably some magic story telling us whether or not Ghalta is male or female. But anyways, Ghalta Primal Hunger. This is the deck. It's mono green. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to ramp into Ghalta, and ramp, luckily in this case, also just means creatures. So you can just play creatures, and that's kind of ramping towards your win condition, which is obviously
Amazing.
Ghalta. A 12 mana trample commander is very difficult to deal with. A lot of times Ghalta will come out and just kind of act as a board wipe for one player, right? Like you'll go, okay, I cast Ghalta, and then maybe you have some way to give it haste or something, and then it attacks, and then they just have to put their whole board in front of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to trade with it very likely.
No.
And chumping is kind of pointless
It's
when you're
yeah.
trample, right? So like you have to be like, okay, I can't take. I feel like you're chumping. All chumping against Ghalta does is turn it from a 2-hit kill to a 3-hit kill,
Which is kind of the strategy I think you should employ. It's like you should, if you have Ghalta coming at you, definitely throw something in front of it, because 2 hits and you're dead.
Yeah, just
right?
try to take 10. Just you want to take 10 from Ghalta.
Yeah, exactly. Take 10 or less, and you're okay. You're more okay. Like less, if you can get a less than 7, you're even, you're better. But because if you do, even if you do trade with Ghalta, if you put your whole board in front of it, Ghalta always costs 2. Let me tell you. Here's the secret about this deck. He or she always costs 2. I played a couple like practice games with this deck, and I never, and it never cost more than 2 for me. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what some specific cards we're going to use in this one. So first we're going to reduce that cost, right? This is Let's start from the bottom, build it up. Let's build this massive T-Rex. And the first thing I think most people would probably think about when talking about a mono green deck that you want to ramp into, it's the elves.
Yeah, I thought in the show notes a glance over, it looked like it says Elvis.
Elvis. It does kind of say Elvis. Land of War Elvis. So yeah, Land of War, your Finhorn elves, your Elvish Mystic, just all the little ones that have cost green and they tap for green. They're 1/1s. The great thing about these guys, obviously, is that not only do they ramp you for everything else in your deck, they basically reduce Ghalta's cost by 2. Essentially,
Wow.
right? Because of the 1 power plus the 1 mana you can make. So all those little guys are great. Sean, why don't you take this next one here?
Yeah, great. So a bunch of those elves, and then let's talk about Karametra's Acolyte, 3 and a green for a 1/4. Tap, add an amount of green to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. This is a mono green deck, right? So the devotion to green just creeps up on you. So now Karametra's Acolyte is probably tapping for we dropped this on turn 3, let's say, because we got a bit of ramp, and now we're maybe got an elf or 2 out there. So now this is tapping for 3 or 4, which makes Ghalta 3 or 4 cheaper. We're already almost at the point where Ghalta costs 2 green. We can probably cast Ghalta on turn 4 with this plan.
It's wild. Absolutely wild. And then why not get your opponents in on the help to help Ghalta cost a bit less, and let's run Mana Gorger Hydra in this deck.
Genius.
2 and a green for a 1/1 with trample, and it says whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Mana Gorger Hydra. So you will help Mana Gorger Hydra get bigger, and as will your opponents as they cast spells. And then by the time this gets back around to you, it's not uncommon to have 4 or 5 counters on Mana Gorger Hydra at that point. Even on turn 3, right? People trying to ramp, people getting their mana rocks out there.
Andy,
You can have Ghalta out on turn 4, like Sean was saying. You probably just with Mana Gorger Hydra out there.
well, with Mana Gorger Hydra, think about this: turn 1, elf; turn 2, land, tap elf for Mana Gorger Hydra.
Right.
Right. So now you've got 2
You've
power
already got
on the board.
you've already got 2 power on the board, and you didn't even say play a land there. So if you play that land, you have
Well, this is our second
3
turn. This is
lands.
Turn 2.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about next turn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
turn
ahead.
2 you play the Mana Gorger Hydra. So now, and then let's say our opponents each play a spell, 3 opponents. So now Mana Gorger Hydra is 4/4 plus our elf, that makes 5. The elf taps for 1, that makes 6. 7, 8, 9.
9.
Ooh, we're a little bit short still. We can't do it quite yet, but we're very close.
That's pretty close. And I was gonna say is turn 4 you definitely have it.
Turn 4, definitely.
So this guy comes out, and the great thing about Mana Gorger Hydra is that it itself is a threat, right?
Yeah.
If you've ever played with what's the shapeshifter, the red one there, Torian Mauler.
Yeah.
Torian Mauler doesn't have trample, but it gets
big
big and you have to deal with it. Like you either have to remove it or I don't know, you have to find some way to deal with that card because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, becomes a bigger and bigger threat. And Mana Gorger Hydra with the trample is in and of itself a pretty massive threat if it just is left out to run wild. So that's one way we're going to reduce Ghalta's cost. There's other ways, obviously, just more creatures, of course, but there's ones that really care about forests, which are going to essentially they double your mana towards Ghalta. So let's take a look at this first one here.
Ooh. Coiling Woodworm, 2 and a green, insect for a star 1. Coiling Woodworm's power is equal to the number of forests in play. So, every turn you play a land, unless you play like a non-basic, which I'm sure we have a few in here, but you're likely that's like an extra ramp per turn.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of everything as ramp for Ghalta.
Yes,
that's how I'm
me
thinking
too.
of everything.
And that's not a bad way to think about it, because what happened in a couple of the games I played is I'd get Coiling Wormwood on turn 3, and then for the rest of the game, as long as this card was out, Ghalta would always cost 2, because every land you play is 2 more towards it, which is taking care of the commander tax. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Coiling Wormwood is just amazing. And the fact that it only has 1 toughness doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously it's a little easier for your opponents to remove, but this comes down so early that by the time they can probably even do something about it, you've already got Ghalta out once or twice, or Ghalta's now the bigger threat, kind of. You know what I mean? They've got to find out a way to deal with your 12/12 trample commander. Oof, it's a beating. It's tough. So
if you want to talk about weird arms on a creature, we could probably do a whole podcast on this dude's weird arms.
Yeah, Coiling Wormwood has 2 weird little arms coming out of the back of its head. It looks like,
but they're upside they're upside down. They're not this claws. They're like this claws.
Yeah, weird. And it's an insect that only has four legs and a snake tail.
By definition,
kind of.
there must be 2 legs we can't see, because I think 6 legs is an insect
yes,
rule.
Exactly. There has to be. Wood. Oh no, it's wood. It's wood worm, but it's an insect. Anyways.
Oh, that's right.
This thing looks more like a sliver than an insect or a worm.
It looks like someone dropped a couple of creatures and then just like mashed them back together.
Oh,
like,
no.
Okay.
Okay. I think
this looks about right.
This arm probably goes here. And what are these horns? I guess that's on the top of his head there. But if you want to get if you want to go one better than Coiling Wormwood, well, it's a couple better, I would imagine. Colonian Twin Grove. It's 6 mana for a Treefolk Warrior with Star. Colonian Twin Grove's power and toughness are each equal to the number of forests you control. And when Colonian Twin Grove enters the battlefield, you put a green Treefolk Warrior creature token out of the battlefield with the same thing. This creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of forests you control. So you get double with the Twin Grove, plus the toughness boost as well. And again, these things become big threats themselves. Like, this is not only a way to keep Ghalta's cost down, but this is just, you're going to be putting pressure on your opponents with these 2, 7/7, 8 or 8/8 or whatever it is, by the time you have the mana to cast it. Colonial Twin. And
wow.
These are the ones that they grow, right? Like the power toughness is always equal to the number. It's not like it sticks when you put it in or whatever. So the Colonial Twin Groves will only get bigger.
If you ever see a lot of creatures will have 0s on their power and toughness box that get modified, and those things usually will stick.
Yeah.
But if a creature ever has a star on it, you can pretend that star is actually whatever number in every zone.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
while it's in your hand, it does have power and toughness that you can calculate on the fly.
Yep. Graveyard as well, of course.
Graveyard as well.
So there's other ways to help with the forest too, not just simply having them, but there's some cards that just make forests even better, like
the Regal Behemoth, who has been retconned into being a dinosaur. 4 green for a dinosaur now. It's a 5/5 trample. When Regal Behemoth enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. And whenever you tap a land for mana while you're the monarch, you add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Which, in a mono green deck, that's very useful. We can ramp a ton with creatures, but it's this monarch angle to get those extra cards. Green's card draw often comes in giant bursts, but here's a way to kind of get it going.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be, you have a lot of creatures here, so it can be especially once you have the behemoth down and you're making all this mana, but it can be pretty easy to defend your monarchy, so to speak, right?
Who's getting through a 12/12?
Exactly, right? Like, it's just going to be very tough. I mean, obviously, like a room full of tokens can come at you, but even then, you can mostly fight most of them off. Yeah, they might get through, but they're sacrificing so much of their board just to get the monarch.
Well,
people don't usually do that.
Like, everything we have has trample anyway, so you can get it back very easily.
Very easily. And you kind of don't care if other people are drawing the cards. Like, as long as you can get it back on your turn, you're feeling pretty good about it. Because that's the thing. You got all this ramp. We've got all this mana to make sure we get Ghalta all the time, and then all the other big creatures, because there are just a bunch of big, stompy, massive monster creatures that can also just win for you. So we want a way to get at those and use that mana all the time. So card draw is super important in this deck, and we've included a bunch of stuff. But yeah, the Regal Behemoth is a big help with it. Okay, so now let's say we get Ghalta out there. We want to maximize that damage. We want to get 1-turn kills with Ghalta. Yeah. How do we get 1-turn kills? Well, one way is certainly double strike. Fire Shrieker, the 3-mana equipment, just says equip creature has double strike and it equips for 2. This is a big deal. You cast Fire Shrieker and then cast Ghalta for 2 and then equip it for 2. It's wrong. It's not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. Now you've got 24 damage coming at somebody, and it all has trample.
It's so yeah, you have to chump with 4 toughness just to be 1 point away from death.
Yeah.
Like at that point you might as well just be like, well, I hope I find an answer later. I'm just going to chump 4 toughness to buy myself 1 turn because like there's no point in trying to prevent this damage with my board. I have to find another way to deal with Ghalta.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? It's like it's all you can do sometimes to just throw everything in front of Ghalta just to be like, well, I've got to survive 1 more turn. Or maybe my opponents can help or whatever. Maybe these other people can help me. But Fire Shrieker just like cuts the time in half, quite literally. It just makes the clock so much shorter on everyone around the table. So another way to also get double strike is grappling hook, of course. 4 mana, 4 mana equipment that equips for 4, so it's more. So it's definitely not as good as Fire Shrieker. Equipped creature has double strike, and whenever equipped creature attacks, you may have target creature block it this turn if able. So you can force them to block and put a useful creature in front of it. I don't know how often you end up doing that. This is really mostly in there just for the double strike. So
Pricey.
But who knows, right? Yeah, it's pretty pricey. But you've got so much ramp that it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's one of those examples of just like, here's equipment. It's Death Touch equipment is tough too. Like they don't have a lot of equipment that gives us double strike, so we have to use something like grappling hook. And I guess Fire Shrieker is the minimum. It just gives you double strike. So
Yeah.
I guess Wizards has decided 3 cost to equip is that rate. But like, surely we can get something that isn't 4 and 4. Like maybe another 3 and 3 with something else. Like maybe First Strike.
The good thing about it is that like you can force them, like maybe they're going to block with some things to put in front of Ghalta, but they want to keep this one guy back because they don't want him to die. It's like, well, you can be like, nope, put him in there.
Yeah,
And
their own commander.
yeah, right. Like you don't care really. One thing I discovered with playing is like you don't really care if Ghalta dies. Like if they put 12 power in front of it or whatever, great. You just board wipe them, and then guess what? I get to you can cast it again right away. Next main phase for 2, probably.
And maybe even re-equip all that stuff.
Exactly, right? Like it's sometimes it just doesn't matter if they kill it, which is wild. It's wild.
Wow.
So yeah, talking about maximizing that damage. One way to do it is with haste. So this next one will help us with that.
Ooh, Chariot of Victory. 3 for an equipment. Equipped creature has First Strike, Trample, and Haste, and it equips for 1. That's the best equip cost, except for 0, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But and then the Haste is amazing. The Trample, Ghalta doesn't need that Trample, but I'm sure there's plenty of creatures in here. If we already have Ghalta done, that's like, oh, I could give this guy Trample, no problem.
Yeah,
and then stomp in with them.
Yep, that's exactly it. The fact that the Chariot gives Trample is really good for like most of the other creatures in our deck because they do want Trample if they don't they don't already have it, right? This card's kind of this. I think this card might be a little bit underrated. It's not great or anything. It's not like a staple by any means, but I do kind of like it in decks with really big creatures because the haste is generally pretty underrated and the Trample's really great.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're going to be thinking of, like, it's out right now, Strider Harness. It's in its Rivals.
Yeah.
It's 3 generic, 1 equip, and it gets +1/+1 in haste.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I would, like, Charity of Victory is, that +1/+1 is way worse than First Strike plus Trample.
Trample, yeah.
Right? And see, the First Strike, we haven't mentioned this, but, like, one of the ways these decks get defeated is if opponents have little like death touchers around.
Yeah.
But giving everything first and or double strike, it just like death touchers don't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's not gonna play into it.
No.
There's lots of other equipment that you equip for 1 and get haste, like Swiftfoot Boots, which we do have. We have Swiftfoot Boots in the deck too. There's a couple other ones. Yeah, those are all also very good. I just wanted to highlight Chariot of Victory because I think this card is This card can be decent in the right deck.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, decent. So yeah, haste is a good thing. We have a couple other ways to get haste as well. There's like a weird old enchantment that costs 1 green, and then you have to pay 0 as like an activation cost to untap it. It's weird. But anyways, this is a good one. And then finally, this is one we haven't used in a while, but it's Assault Suit. 4 generic for equipment that equips for 3. It says equipped creature gets +2/+2. So now you're actually adding power toughness. Has haste. Can't attack you or planeswalker you control, and can't be sacrificed. So it's great protection for Ghalta as like a baseline. +2/+2 haste, and the can't be sacrificed is just, I think, already kind of enough to throw this in the deck, right? But also, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of equipped creature until end of turn, and if you do, they untap it. So you can give. We all know. Most of us probably know about Assault Suit already. If you don't, this is what it does, and you pass it around the table, and then your opponents have the option of attacking with it or not. But if they're like, yeah, you know what, we do need to get rid of this, the mono blue counter spells player. You know what I mean? Like that guy's even more trouble than Ghalta, so I'm gonna attack him with your Ghalta, right? So if you can work out deals like that, the Assault Suit can be great. But I don't use this card as much. It's obviously great for these types of things where you're relying on commander damage and like almost like a Voltron style commander. Assault Suit's very good for that. But yeah, I don't use this card as much as I think I maybe should. I actually forgot it had haste until reading it right now.
Yeah.
And that +2/+2 is something, because that's probably just another creature that they have to throw in front of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like with that much trample, like it's the Ghalta's numbers are just so huge.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, amazing, and so cheap.
So cheap.
Cool.
So speaking of protection,
well, can I point out how you've labeled this category?
yes.
This category is not titled protection in the notes. It's titled protection.
Protect.
Now, I'd like to give you a moment to imagine how you think you would spell protection. How would you spell it?
Yeah, think about it out loud. Protect.
Here's how Andy spells it. It reminds me a little bit of the word Porsche.
Yeah, it does a bit.
PROTECTSHE. Protect.
Right.
It's a sloppy word, right? Like it's a slimy. I feel like it's a slimy word now.
Well, especially
it
since
sounds like parcel tongue.
Especially since I could have just it's the same number of letters as protection. I didn't save anything by writing protect. I just thought it was funnier.
It's so much funnier. Protect.
Anyways, got to get a little protect out there. Protect your board. Yeah, what's this first one? This one's cool.
Okay, the Trolls of Tel Gilad. 5 green for a 5/6, and for 1 and a green, regenerate target green creature. Stop. So annoying. Regenerating is so annoying.
Regenerating is so annoying. And so building this mono green deck, I was like, how am I going to do this stuff where what about board wipes? Board wipes can really mess this deck up, man. Like, we need creatures on the battlefield for lots of things. That's how we draw cards. That's how we ramp up. That's how we get our commander, which is our win condition. So, we need the creatures to stick around. Board wipes are our worst enemy here. So, unfortunately, there's a bunch of board wipes say you can't regenerate. But also, unfortunately, that's all a green has, really. There is a spell, the one that is instant and everything gets hexproof and indestructible. But that card is now $7 or something, for $5 or $6, something like that. So it was a little out of budget for us. So I was like, okay, well, we'll lean on regeneration here. We got a couple of things that help with the regeneration. Trolls of Tel Gilad is a very expensive card. It's 7 and it's a 5/6, but that ability is just very good. And I'm almost tempted to be you should use the regeneration not on Ghalta, but on something else. Especially if you have one of your haste equipment out. I would rather save the ways to make Ghalta cost less than Ghalta herself or himself. I don't know. I don't know if that's right. Do you want to keep it out, or do you want to keep the engine together, which is all the the mana producers and the things like Mana Gorger Hydras and things like that.
I feel like the engine.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Let's let Ghalta go.
Mm-hmm.
Because we'll get him back, no problem. Let's keep the trolls alive. Let's
Yeah.
keep some of our mana producers alive. Do you know what I was thinking? I got a bit distracted there because I wanted to look up. I don't know if you put this in the deck, but when I'm thinking about a mono green deck and I'm like, well, wraths really kill us, it makes me think of Joel Rail, Empress of Beasts.
Oh yeah. Oh the one that turns everyone's lands into creatures.
Yeah, so it should be like, so you can just have Joel Rail ready and just be like, okay, if you insist on wrathing my board, go ahead, but you will lose all your lands by doing so. This is the price you must sacrifice for the table to do it.
We mic noises. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, Joel Rail. We built she was one of our early commanders. We built her. I built a deck around her in one of the very early episodes. It was about lands, I think, but animating lands.
Yeah.
And Joel Rail is a cool commander, man. You could build a very neat, pretty different deck than I've really ever seen before. It's got a risky side to it because you end up turning a bunch of your lands into creatures, and board wipes really punish you. But they also just swing in and kill too, right? It's great. Anyways, I don't know what. Maybe I'll look up what episode that is, and
it was
I'll
early.
mention it in a sec. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. Trolls of Tel Jalad's one way to help out here. Another really great one is Spearbreaker Behemoth. 5, same cost, 5 and green, so it's 7 for a 5/5. Spearbreaker Behemoth is indestructible, so that's great. He himself is indestructible, and then he has the ability of pay 1 generic target creature with power 5 or greater is indestructible this turn. So this one is for Ghalta. This one is to save Ghalta or any of your other monstrous creatures out there. This guy is a true house, like very difficult to deal with.
A true house.
A true house, yeah.
Not an apartment building.
a
true house.
Big house, like a true house that helps to house your other larger buildings.
Yeah.
If Ghalta's an apartment building, I guess.
Ooh, this next card for me is a surprise and discovery.
It was for me too, actually.
Wrap and Vigor, 1 and a green, instant, regenerate each creature you control. That's effectively a counter spell for a wrath effect, depending on the type of wrath it is.
And while it's obviously a one-time use because it's an instant, it costs the same as doing it once with the Trolls of Tel Jalad, so it's 1 and a green. So,
yeah,
just quickly regenerate your whole board.
But I feel like we would run a counter spell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fair to consider it's like, its use is to counter destroy all creature effects.
I often run at least one thing in any deck that just counters board wipes.
You have to,
right? Like, so Wrap and Vigor is this one. Everyone probably knows that I'm a big fan of what's it called? Rootborn Defenses.
Rootborn Defenses, yeah.
And the other one, which is also very good, the one that gives +1. I can never remember. Make a stand or something.
Make a stand, I think so.
Yeah. Those are white cards that make your whole board indestructible, basically. Yeah.
We mentioned the green one that was out of price.
Yes, that's right. So I think it's worth it. I mean, look, at board wipes are so prevalent that having a card just dedicated to protecting against them, I think is very worth it.
Yeah, obviously blues are counter spells themselves.
Yes, yeah. Although the thing with blue, like I often think that I'm like, well, I'll just run counter spells to stop that. But that also stops everyone else from getting wrath too, right? So
yeah.
which is probably fine because if you're in a position where you want to counter spell, you're probably in the lead or close to it. But these other ones, the white ones and like Wrap and Vigor, like they just protect you. So you come out way ahead after everyone else gets wiped.
It's interesting to put it that way, that blue is the worst color to protect from wraths.
Worst. I don't know if it's the worst. It's just different. It just does it differently.
Yeah, you're right.
It's still very good because it has so many counter spells and so many effective ones.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, because don't get me wrong. Like, if you're running like exile all creatures, these don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Next one. This is protection. This is a protection for us, the player. Talking about like board wipes. Azuri's Predation. Kind of rediscovered this card because we talked about this a lot. A lot of people talk about how great this card is, and it is very good. But I haven't seen it in. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen it in play. Maybe once. It's 5 green, so 8 for a sorcery that says for each creature your opponents control, put a 4/4 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. Each of those beasts fights a different one of those creatures. So you might not get everything, but you're going to get a bunch of stuff, especially the little stuff. And especially if there's little stuff, you're going to get these guys sticking around, which is just going to make Ghalta so cheap and, go to town, right?
Well, and let's not forget, like, if you're able to cast this with Ghalta on the board, now what are your opponents going to do? They don't even have the toughness, and even if a few creatures survived, their toughness, if they don't have they've got 4 damage marked on all of them, so they won't even be able to put up enough chump defense.
Well, if they have damage on them, they still block it though.
They block, but
but I guess
only
you
need
don't have to
lethal.
assign as much. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you get to trample over for an additional 4 per living creature.
Yeah, that's neat. I didn't even think about that. That's cool.
Ooh.
And talk about this last one. This one almost made the 3 stars, but I'm just not sure.
Ooh. 4th star of the deck, Prowling Serpopard. 1 green, Cat Snake, 4/3. Can't be countered, and creature spells you control can't be countered. Very useful.
Very useful on a number of different, very useful because it's a 3 mana 4/3. Like, that's 4 mana less for Ghalta. Anytime that's like netting mana almost,
Yeah.
He can't be countered, and spells, creature spells, which this deck is all creature spells basically. now countering is no longer a way to keep Ghalta off the board, because I think it's not going to be very long. In a game, you'll cast Ghalta 2 or 3 times, and then people will be like, "Oh, it never costs more than 2. We just have to keep it off the board. We just have to counter it, do everything." And Prowling Serpopard is maybe the best protection once people figure out what it is you're doing.
Yeah, especially the second or third time you've played this deck.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta say, the longer we talk about this, the more excited about this deck I am. I don't have my Big Dumb Idiot deck put together. I always thought it was going to be red-green, but it might just be green.
I'm green is my favorite color in Magic, and I don't have a mono green deck, and I feel like I should. So I know exactly what you're saying.
And it's like sometimes I just want to be sometimes I want to sit down with the fellas, play some Commander, but I don't want to think really hard. I don't want to keep numbers in my brain and watch for how many combos I can do. I just want to play big things and attack.
That's this, and it's the same big thing a lot of the time, which is great. But you know what? There are other big things. Yes. Let's talk about a couple of those guys.
Ooh, yeah.
The big dudes. Talk about this one.
Moss Bridge Troll, 5 green, Troll, 5/5. If Moss Bridge Troll would be destroyed, regenerate it. Automatic regeneration. Such a weird thing to do, to just not give it indestructible. I guess this is before they even conceived of indestructible stuff.
No, but it's not. I think there were indestructible things, but it's a troll. Trolls regenerate.
I guess, you know what, flavor-wise, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's weird. So whenever you regenerate a creature, you tap it, you remove it from combat. So, there are effects beyond indestructible. But anyway, tap any number of untapped creatures you control other than Mossbridge Troll with power 10 or greater. Mossbridge Troll gets 20, plus 20 until end of turn. Total power 10 or greater. Very easy in this deck.
Plus 10, plus 20, plus 20. It's a 25.
Got to give it trample somehow. It doesn't have trample.
Yeah, for sure. But, this is just... I don't know. This it's just such a big monster. This was suggested by Boas, who's a listener in on the Discord chat, the patron, the patron-only Discord chat that we have going on, which of course you can be a part of if you donate through Patreon, plus other fun perks. Anyways, but Mossbridge Troll was just so fun. I remember this card from one of the Duels of the Planeswalkers games. And was just like, oh yeah, I'll include Mossbridge Troll. This is fun. I don't even know if it works particularly well in this deck, just because it's I was thinking plus 20, and then Ghalta, if your Ghalta does, if you've died 1,000 times and you just want to recast it, tap those creatures. But I was like, but if you have power 10 or greater creatures anyways, you're probably not far off from just casting Ghalta anyways. But getting a 25/25 and we've got lots of things to give trample in this deck too, so Yeah, Mossbridge Troll can be a real monster. Also, don't forget about the blocking. Like if you've got maybe you've got a giant creature coming in on you, and Mossbridge Troll looks like it's a 5/5, but you can pump it up.
That's true.
It's like an onboard
That's true.
combat trick, kind of. Yeah. Mossbridge Troll's neat. It's just it really just like a fun card, but it's fun to have these like big monsters in there.
I love big dumb idiots.
And it's same thing as like attacking, right? You can just be attacking with it, and maybe your opponent isn't even really fully paying attention. It's like, oh, it's a 5/5, okay. Oh no, now tap the other ones I didn't attack with, and now it's a 25/25. That'd be funny.
That'd be funny.
So we're gonna keep the big man train rolling, the big dude, the big monster train rolling. Giant Adaphage, 5 green, one of my favorite Magic cards. 7/7 insect creature with trample, native trample, so good. Whenever Giant Adaphage deals combat damage to a player, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of Giant Adaphage. So the tokens also make copies of themselves. This thing makes a copy of itself. Giant Adaphage usually just gets killed before it can do anything. It's such a lightning rod, but it's because it's so good. It's such a monster. Like anyone has a very small board state, anyone just has a couple tokens, think they're going to chump block no matter what, but guess what? No way, man. Giant Adaphage is coming in. It's making a copy of itself, and that reduces Ghalta's cost by 14.
Yeah.
Oh, just like himself alone is reducing it by 7, which is insane. But yeah.
Yeah. Insane.
And those tokens will generate pips as well, like for stuff like devotion and things like that.
Yes.
So Giant Adaphage doubles everything up about itself. It's so good, man.
Oof. One more. Primeval Protector, 10 green for a 10/10 avatar. Costs 1 less for each creature your opponents control, so very reasonably could cost a green.
Yeah.
Right? The only big creature that's a little bit cheaper than Ghalta.
Yeah.
When Primeval Protector enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 encounter on each other creature you control. That's like, what?
Yeah, like, did it need that? Okay, great. But awesome, right? So it kind of buffs your little mana dorks and, makes them a little bit more relevant, I suppose, but also bumps that's more power for Ghalta. It's just wild. Like, you can easily, like, it's not, like, this is one you want after a board wipe. So, like, there was a couple games I was playing where I had a great board state. Things were going great. I had Ghalta out. I had this guy, but I kept this guy in my hand. There's no point in really playing this guy out when while you already have Ghalta and you've got your engine going. This is a great way to restart it. So like someone board wipes, then then your opponents play out a few creatures, and then you can drop Primeval Protector. Like maybe it's like later and you've got 6 or 7 mana. You drop this guy down for 4, bam! All of a sudden Ghalta costs next to nothing again. So he's very very good way to restart your engine going, and he keeps the Primeval Protector keeps the cost down for the rest of the game like that. A 10/10. And then just, again, is just a massive beater himself, so it's great. And finally in the big dudes category, we got Paleoloth. 4 green for a 5/5. Whenever another creature with power 5 or greater comes into play under your control, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It's just a way to just keep that engine rolling. You cast Ghalta, now you get something else out of your graveyard that was helping cast Ghalta the previous time, and so on and so forth. And it's also like, this is one of the cards where it's like, oh, it's not bad if Ghalta dies, because now I just get to recast it, get something else out of my graveyard. There's also like Garrick's Pack Leader, and some of those cards that are like, whenever a big creature comes into play, you draw a card. It's like, you just let Ghalta die, no problem. No problem. Keep casting it, keep drawing more cards, keep getting more lands, whatever. It's all.
I want to play this deck.
It's all gravy. But yeah, that's
green gravy.
That's what we do. That's the engine. Those are the moves you make. Then you just swing in with your monster and just crush. But we got to talk about the 3 stars.
Andy, before we get into that, I had a brainstorm. We haven't discussed this prior to the podcast. Can I throw is this a win more card? What do you feel about a card that's called Wild Pair?
Oh, I know this one.
Right? It's a 6-minute enchantment.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, so it can't be Ghalta coming in from the command zone.
Right.
But if you cast it from your hand, you may search your library for a creature with the same total power and toughness, put it onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library. Is this win more? Is this? And then I guess the next step is you would have to do an analysis and see how many creatures can get other creatures, because it could very well be like there's hardly any overlap, in which case, you don't want it. But I'm intrigued by this card, not going to lie.
Yeah, I think you would have to build you have to build a little bit at least around this, right?
Yeah, like all of your mana dorks may or may not help each other, and like your 5/5s don't get your 5/7s and your 7/7s. Like,
Yeah.
it has to be pretty precise.
Yeah.
Just curious.
It may well be very good if you build around it, but yeah, this isn't a card that you can just throw in and hope for the best. Like,
yeah,
I don't think.
Maybe
Anyways,
next
you
time.
you might be able to. I mean, this is a pretty wide range of power toughnesses here, so I actually kind of think like, if anything, this is the type of deck you would use it for, just because it really runs the gamut. We have like 1/1s and then we have 10/10s, right? Like, so yeah, I don't know. Wild pair. I don't know if it's not win more, but sometimes win more in Commander is actually good, right? You need to win more to like get your opponents off the board quicker. So
right.
It's I don't know. And when you can run like any card in Magic's history, basically, win more is a good thing, I think. You never know what they're gonna have, right? Great. Okay, let's talk about the 3 stars then.
Ooh. 3 stars of the deck. Top performers. Star number 3, Drum Hunter, 3 green, Human Druid Warrior, 2/2. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 5 or greater, you may draw a card. Also taps for 1 generic.
Yeah, Drum Hunter is just a great card in these big beast decks. It draws you an extra card every turn, and it's on your end step, which is so great.
It's like Monarchy.
Yeah, right? It is like having just the Monarchy. So, and it provides 3 mana towards Ghalta because of the 2 power as well as the 1 mana that she taps for. So Drum Hunter is great. I love this card in these kinds of decks. Coming down on turn 4 isn't that bad either. Like, because next turn she'll ramp you into a big creature if you don't have it already. And yeah, and there you go. Then you start drawing cards, and once you start drawing a lot of cards in this deck, it's tough to deal with. Speaking of which, Rishkar's Expertise, 4 green, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So a lot of times you can just draw 12 cards and then just drop a 5/5 for 5 or one of those things. You know what I mean? It's also just not even just creatures. Like, you can just play out any of the neat like equipment you might have drawn or anything like that, right? So Rishkar's Expertise is an awesome card in this deck. Not only because of Ghalta, but we have things like, maybe I'll just tap my 10 power creature to make my Mosswort Troll a 25/25 and then draw 25 cards. That might not be good. You might be getting into, drawing a quarter of your deck might be a little overkill, but
like I feel like unless you have something like a Reliquary Tower to keep your hand.
Yeah.
I don't want to be throwing away more cards than I drew.
Yeah, exactly. Just draw the 10, you know what I mean? Just draw the 10 cards or whatever it is that you have.
Drawing 10's great. You're going to find good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Rishkar's Expertise is an awesome card in this deck. Very, very good. And the number 1 star.
Number 1 star, Yeva Nature's Herald, 2 green for a legendary elf shaman who is 4/4, and she has flash. You may cast green creature cards as though they had flash.
Yeah, it was kind of tough to decide what the number 1 star of this deck would be. It all works so well together. It's hard to point out like one key, super key part of the strategy or anything like that. I think it all works pretty well together. Obviously, Ghalta is the number 1 star, but it's the commander, so that's obvious. So yeah, I like Diva because she just allows you to do everything that you want to do and helps protect the whole thing by giving it all flash, right? You do it on that end step before, you can flash out bam, 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 3 creatures and then Ghalta because you've reduced the cost so much. So being able to flash in Ghalta is how you basically give it pseudo haste.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's
and give everything pseudo haste.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's great. So Eva's really, really solid and I think probably worthy of the number 1 star.
Yeah, worth that $1.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I like so great in mono green decks. Anyway, in general. Surprise or discoveries? We mentioned one earlier. Yeah, that Rapid Vigor. That was a neat one to find. But this one, I was like kind of shocked at this one. I've never heard of this card, and I never seen it before. But it's Vernal Bloom. 3 and a green for an enchantment that says whenever a forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds green to his or her mana pool. So this is across the board. This is everyone when you pay for this. But as a mono green player, obviously you're benefiting way more from this than anyone else. And like some players just don't benefit from this at all. So
Yeah.
if you know, like you
What do
may
they have? Their one basic forest and all their dual lands.
exactly
Like,
like you're playing against 3 and 4, 5 color decks. Like Vernal Bloom isn't helping them very much, but it's helping you a ton. All of your lands tap for double. So those like mana. What's a mana?
Echoes?
No, not mana echoes. That's a red card.
Metamorphose. No.
You know the green card that doubles up mana. That card is very expensive.
It's a green card?
Yeah, it's a green card. It's an enchantment that doubles up mana for just for you.
Oh.
Mana Reflection? Mana Reflection. I think that might be what it's called. Something like that.
Mana Reflection is a card. If you tap a permanent for mana, it produces twice how much. Oh, any permanent. So
Wow,
it
it's
also
permanent
works on mana
too.
rocks.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That card
it's
is
a $25 card.
$25, yeah. So, but this is our very, very budget version of that card, so that just doubles up our lands. This card is only like $2.50 or something. Or like $2. The 7th edition version is $2. It's white border, so you know,
Gotta
for all
spring
you
that extra 50 cents if you don't want white border.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's so ugly.
Wait, no, 8th edition is white border too. So
Yeah, you gotta go Urza Saga. You gotta go.
yeah, if you want the Urza Saga one, it's
Which is
it's,
arguably
yeah,
the
black border.
by far the best art anyway.
I kind of like the 7th edition art, which if you're
I mean-
watching YouTube, you can see it right now.
Oh goodness. I guess it's the same as 8th edition, but it just looks different in my brain because of the white border.
Hey, it is the same. Yeah, it does look different. Weird. But this is like, I think this is a real find. I mean, mono green decks only really, but like
It's effectively one-sided. I think that's what you need to keep in mind.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, yeah, you are going to run up against, you know, the Selesnya player who now is doubling half their lands, which is like, okay, well, you know, that's not great, but you are getting a massive boost from it, and they're just getting a little bit of help. So it's not that bad. I like this card. I think it's cool. Great. Well, yeah. Before we get to the budget report, let's talk about the Wizard's Tower.
Let's talk about our pals over at the Wizard Tower. Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com. Yeah. You know, we do articles. Andy and I do articles and stuff for MTG Canada, the article and strategy branch of it. But like, it's a great place to buy singles. We all know this too. But also, like, you know, when's the last time, like, you know, maybe you want a little board game or something like that. Like, have y'all played Anomia? It might be the best board game. So like, grab one of those.
Anomia is great. Anomia is, I've discovered, like, some people, it's too intense for them.
Ha.
Like, they can't handle, and like, admittedly, they're like, I can't play Anomia. It's too intense. Like, because I guess some people are just better than others at like noticing things and keeping track of that in their head. And then like when the card flips and you say the thing, so to some people it's just like and they just scream and just can't do anything about it. And it's unfortunate that like, I'm talking from personal experience. Like, this has happened to friends of ours, and it's sad that they don't play anymore because they're so fun to play against because of how funny they get when the card gets flipped in Anomia.
I know.
It's more like, I don't have fun just because you can beat them. It really is just more fun because they're like, they get so stressed out about it.
I know someone whose brain just shouts pizza at everything. Like, whenever she's playing, her brain is just like, pizza, 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 and then says the name of a bridge.
Wait, so like pizza is her thinking word?
And then sometimes also bees.
Bees. Oh, like, Barack Obama. What?
Yeah. But she's shouting, though, like, bees.
But you can't say... That's insane. You can't say something that isn't of the category. Isn't that you just lose if you do that, right? So if you just yelled pizza, you're out.
I don't know that that's a rule. I think the way we play, you're allowed to just the first legal word is the entry.
Oh, so it's just like you can just say anything until you hit something that makes sense, that works for it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, head over to wizardtower.com. Check it out. We took a little break from writing articles, but now we're back. Full swing.
Full swing.
Speaking of back, let's get back to Ghalta and let's talk about the budget report.
Yeah, budget report. Beep, 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 beep. This is where we take all the cards and reduce the value of some of them based on the value of the other ones.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what we do. It reduces the cost. Then how's the budget report?
It's economics is confusing. Take a class.
Okay, fine. The budget report for this deck came in at fine. I'll take a class, I guess. I'll learn about it.
Okay, fine.
This deck came out at like 48.82, which is that's like kind of a lot because it's mono green. You'd think it would be even cheaper, but a lot of these cards like they cost like $2. You know, these guys who like you wouldn't think maybe necessarily, but there's a lot of like $1.50 to $2.50 cards in this deck. But this one is the one that really that's spiking it up there a little bit. It's the Growing Rights of Itlamok, 2 and a green for the legendary enchantment that when it comes into play, you look at the top 4 cards, you can reveal a creature card from among them, put it in your hand, which is very helpful, very nice. And then if you have 4 on your end step, you transform it into Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun. You tap it for green, or you can tap it and add green to your mana pool for each creature you can control. I mean, whatever. This card's in a bunch of decks now. It's very good. In our deck, it's like it just doubles up mana, like your mana for your mana dorks, obviously. Just a great ramp card. I don't know.
And it's a feel-good story, too, because I'm just noticing, if you look at the front side, there's like 2 dinosaurs way in the back. They're like, hey, what are you guys doing over there? They're like doing some tree spell. And then when you flip it, look how many trees are there now. And other dinosaurs are like kind of like, wicked, cool.
Like, yo, what did you guys do? Nice.
Whatever you guys did, thumbs up.
Yeah, huge. Thanks.
Tiny thumbs up.
Teeny little thumbs.
2 teeny thumbs up.
Yeah, Growing Rights is solid, man. Obviously. You know, what are you going to do?
Solid. Second most expensive card is actually Bane of Progress.
What? It is?
Yeah, I looked up the prices while we were going, and it's the other one's only 2.
Oh, well, in the thing I was looking at, it was on MTG Goldfish. It says it's the other way around.
Ah, well, Commander Anthology edition is $2 of Pathbreaker. Anyway, they're about 2 and a change, right? You know, these prices, they're also like, I think we aggregate them off of like TCG Mid or something like that. So like, you know, you go to your store, you're gonna pay a little bit more probably. They gotta pay the electricity bills.
Yeah.
But Bane of Progress, 4 green, elemental, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Period. And then put a +1/+1 counter on it for each permanent destroyed this way. Where we might lose some of our stuff, some of our like equipments and things, but sometimes you cripple your opponents.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes there's just a doubling season you need to get rid of, so you don't mind if you lose a couple of your own things. And then sometimes there's an artifact deck where they're just going wild, and you just get everything they have. Bane of Progress
against your Hellkite deck.
Yeah, right.
Like, all those enchantments and.
Man, Bane of Progress is massive if you do that. So yeah, this is the thing. He comes down, he gets to be big because of all destroying everything. Plus, it does what you need it to do. This is a real commander staple, I think. Bane of Progress.
Yeah, it's a kind of card where like you get to decide whether or not it's good for you, right? Like there are situations where it won't be good to cast this, so you know that's okay.
Yeah, you just keep him in your back pocket. He's not really ever going to be a win condition for you. Well, not like you're not planning on it. But the good thing about it is that the ceiling on him is that he can become that. He can become an 8/8 or something, and he can be the thing that ends games. But you're never relying on him for it. You're just there. He's just there to get some good artifacts and enchantments once in a while.
Get some good artifacts, yeah.
Okay, so then the other one, which is pretty expensive, is Pathbreaker Ibex. 4 green for 3/3. It says whenever Pathbreaker Ibex attacks, creatures you control gain trample and get +X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So, and the great thing about Pathbreaker Ibex, especially when you have a big, reliable creature like Ghalta, is that it's not other creatures you control gain all this stuff. Like he gets it too, so he will be a 15/15 trample if you have Ghalta out, and so will everything else will get obviously the +12 as well. So Pathbreaker Ibex is really solid. It's because of the ways to give haste too. It can be really good. Like this is a game ender. All you need is 1 or 2 other little creatures around, and that can just be the end of the game right there.
And I would also like to just do the math for you. If you can come up with 10 power over no more than 2 creatures, like a 5 and a 5 for Mosswort Bridge, Mosswort Bridge Troll, what is it? Mosswort Troll. You give them all 25/25, so it's a better deal that way.
Yeah, Moss Bridge Troll, yeah.
Moss Bridge Troll, that's the one.
Yeah, because you essentially double that power, and then it gets spread around. So yeah, Pathbreaker Ibex though is a really good card, possibly deserving of a spot on the 3 stars of the deck actually. But sometimes it is a bit win more, and like because Ghaltas can just be enough, and the big creatures themselves could just be enough. But this one can just be the nail in the coffin sometimes.
Oof.
Great. So those are the budget cards, but what about some that are out of budget that would be very good in this specific build?
Ronus the Indomitable is currently out of budget. 2 and a green for a god. It's 5/5, indestructible. Can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. Very easy to do in this deck. But here's the key, I think, for Ronus. 2 and a green, another target creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. So like Moss Bridge Troll, all those things are just that we're like, oh, it's so big, but it doesn't have trample. It's like, well, Ronus solves that for you and gives you more power. So, like, I also want to point out, we've been talking about Ghalta in a sense where your opponents are just like, well, I can't stop it, so I'm just going to put enough toughness to turn it from a 2-hit kill to a 3-hit kill. It's like, well, Ronus turns it back into a 2-hit kill.
Yeah, that's right.
If you just undercut the toughness by 1, that ain't going to do it, because Ronus could just put it back over that one that you've tried to eat.
Ronus's indestructibility would be so good too, because after board wipes, he just cuts 5 costs off of Ghalta.
Yes.
He stays out there, right? So
yes, unlike the other gods, they're always creatures.
Exactly. So yeah, the Ronus is really solid in this deck. Speaking of gods, also Nylea, God of the Hunt, is very good in this deck. 3 and a green for a 6/6 legendary god. She's an enchantment creature with indestructible and the devotion tech. So you need devotion 5 or more. Other creatures you control have trample. That's the key part of it. So all your other big guys will have trample now too. But also 3 and a green, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, which is, just put that clock right back to where it was if people are blocking your Ghalta.
Wow.
So Nylea is great, and it's not hard to actually turn her into a creature. So, which you arguably maybe don't even want to do. But anyways, Nylea would be solid. And then this one, and Nylea's not so expensive, but she's hovering around $5, a bit less.
Yeah.
I just couldn't fit her into this particular brew. But this one's really expensive. This one wouldn't have gone in at all. This next one.
Oh, Sylvala, Heart of the Wilds, 1 green. She's currently $16 from the second conspiracy set. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power, which is like probably you. You're probably getting this. Green tap, add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. That's a lot of mana.
That's a lot of mana. Ghalta lets you add 12 mana by tapping Sylvala. So you can just dump your hand on the battlefield. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about card draw being very important in this deck, and like we've included like even stuff like Staff of Nin, like it just draws you 1 extra card a turn and it costs 6, but because you're ramping so much, that's not that hard to get that 6 mana and even still do something else that turn. but it just pays off being able to draw cards because you have so much mana to cast spells. You get to just do everything. You know what I looked at, but it's too expensive, is oh man, of course I can't remember the name of it now. It's the sun, the something, the immortal sun. The one from RIX. Yeah, the immortal sun, the 6 mana like better Staff of Nin. Legendary artifact.
$7.
Yeah, right? It's a mythic. It goes in every deck. It's very good. Of course it costs $7. Like, I almost think like just get them now because they're going to be, I don't know.
Well, I wait a little bit.
Yeah,
you're like
probably
as they get
right.
Opened, they're gonna drop a little bit.
Yeah, and like
unless friggin' a standard deck uses them, I don't know.
Is it going to become standard playable? 6 mana is a lot, though.
It's a lot for standard, but like I don't know. I don't understand standard.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the meta to know whether or not there's a deck that wants the Immortal Sun.
Standard is changing a lot right now because they just banned a bunch of cards. They killed the 2 top decks. So like we just had a pro tour or a GP. I forget which.
I think it was a GP.
There was a big event last weekend. So I'm sure if I did my research, I could tell you some big decks that are in the lead these days. And if any of them use the Immortal Sun.
Well, I can tell you that the Grixis Control deck, which is the one that's providing 12% of the meta, does not use it, and Mardu Vehicles is still around and it doesn't use it either. So, and then you got this mono red deck is still there. Like they banned part of it, but
yeah,
there will always be a mono red deck in every format, I feel like. Anyways, yeah. So there you go. That's the deck. That's it. Ghalta.
Wow.
It's a fun. It's a fun deck. It's a fun like smash deck, right? Like that's
I love it. I want to play it.
If you like beating in face, I mean, there's not a, there's hardly a better commander than Ghalta Primal Hunger.
There is hardly a better commander, indeed.
12 for 2 mana.
That's the thing. Like there are bigger commanders out there, or like as big, but there are very few commanders that are a natural 2-hit kills. Because if you're a natural 2-hit kill, double strike, and then you're a 1-hit kill. And I'm not counting 6 power with double strike who are already 11 or 12, you know what I mean? Like just but the fact that you can probably cast it for 2 constantly is a game changer. This is I think this is a cool mono green deck.
Yeah, the biggest advantage that Ghalta gets from its casting cost thing is that you can cast Ghalta and then use all the rest of the mana you have to do things like give it haste, to hold up protection, like the regenerating thing, like to do all that kind of stuff. Like that's the problem with expensive commanders. Like they're big and they pack a punch. But you pay 6 mana for it, or 8 mana on like the second time you cast it, and you can't do anything else that turn. You just played your commander. It's like, okay, but with Ghalta, you'll always be able to put those Swiftfoot boots over. You'll always be able to do all the things you need to do to protect it and give it haste and all whatnot, right? So
yeah,
I think that's where a lot of that efficiency isn't so important in commander. Because it's just, it's battle cruiser magic, essentially. It's big monster creatures and lots of mana. But in this case, it really does help a lot. Because your opponents are going to focus on Ghalta. Like, I don't know, maybe the first or even the second time you cast it, they're going to be like, wait a sec. You can't have a 12/12. That's your commander for 2. Like, we have to stop this from happening. So they're going to really focus on you. So you are going to need to use that mana for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, watch out for flyers.
Yeah, watch out for flyers. Watch out for people just being like, well, I have to kill you, otherwise you're going to kill me with Ghalta. So,
but that's the thing. Like all of Ghalta's backups are so big.
So big.
What are you going to do?
And you don't really need to attack with them. Like they can just sit back as blockers because Ghalta's so much of a force. Itself.
Like when you have a whole bunch of like 8/8 type of creatures, you don't need to swing with the team. You could be like, yes, 2 or 3 is good enough.
Exactly. Well, that's the show. I do want to mention before we go that you can get our playmats still.
Yeah.
You can go over to bigcartel.commandersbrew.com, pick up the playmats if you haven't heard or seen. That's where they are. You can also just go to Commander's Brew or Patreon, and you can see the image there as well. Or it's up there at Big Cartel as well. We just want to get these out to you. So I think they're $25 Canada, US, doesn't matter. They're just $25 USD.
That
we're going to be
the shipping.
Yeah, and that includes the shipping. So you'll be sent one at the end of the month, which it is. So those are going out.
The first batch of orders is in. If you've already ordered, it's getting printed as we speak. They're getting ordered and shipped. But it's not like you. It's a per order thing. Like if you order one from now on, it'll just go and it'll go into the mailbox for you.
That's right.
We're not doing like a monthly mail out with these.
Yeah, the first one was just we've never had a store before, so we just wanted to like gauge the interest in that sort of thing and see if this was feasible for us. But so far so good. So now if you order one, you should be getting it in the sort of regular time frame that you would expect something on the internet to arrive at your door, I guess.
Yeah.
And please, if you bought a mat and you go out and you play with it, send us pictures. Send us shots of your sharding sphinxes on your Commander's Brew playmats. Show us your Audric deck. Show us your Screaming Ball guys. Show us everything. Take pictures. Hashtag it with I guess like Commander's Brew or whatever, or just add us.
No.
Yeah, man. We just want to see. People playing with them because it looks. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to see that.
Now that I'm imagining that, I'm very excited about it. But now I'm imagining like this is we need to have another discussion about this. But like eventually, should we talk about sleeves? Should we see if like Ultimate Guard does some sort of custom sleeve thing? Well, that's another discussion though. That idea just popped into my head.
Of course, we should talk about that. And I think we will actually coming up pretty soon. So. Keep an ear out. We're always trying to give back, have cool stuff available and spread the word. Sean said it off the top of the show. If you can go to iTunes, leave a quick review. Doesn't have to be anything really. You can just say you're following instructions or whatever. It really doesn't even matter. It actually doesn't, but it does really help the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube. All that stuff is super, 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 super helpful.
Stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't need to be money, right? You don't need to donating to the Patreon is great, but you don't have to. You don't need to buy playmats. Simply leaving those comments, subscribing, stuff like that is like a lot of work. I know it whatever. It takes it takes a couple minutes, but like it really means the world to all the content creators that you follow. So
right. And maybe you listen to this through iTunes or another podcast app, but like, pop on over to YouTube, give us a subscribe, even if you don't watch there. That also helps a great deal.
It does a lot. So thank you all very much for that. Thanks to all the people who've already done that. You've been amazing. And we're going to come at you with another Brews News segment here, which, by the way, on YouTube, you can now watch a bunch of the Brews Newses in their own separate playlist, so you don't have to fast forward to the end of whatever episode. A bunch of those are going to be up. So, check us out, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brews News. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sean. This week, point counterpoint with the two Audrics.
And now it's time for Point Counterpoint with me, Audric Master Tactician.
And me, Audric Lunarch Marshal.
Point!
Too much Purell actually makes us more susceptible to diseases.
Counterpoint? You can drink Purell and get drunk.
Agreed.
Point. Iconic Masters contains 0 Iconic Masters.
Counterpoint. Sarah Angel?
Point. I'm not in it. Audric, iconic master.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Point. You get no money when you land on free parking in Monopoly.
Counterpoint. That's where you pay your taxes into the middle, and then when you land on free parking, you collect it all.
Counterpoint. It's a game about economy. If you never take money out of the system, it never ends.
Counterpoint. That's a very capitalistic view. We were spread around the wealth for all to have.
Counterpoint. Then why didn't they call it communismopoly?
Concede. Point. I can't wait to vacation on Dominaria.
Ooh, counterpoint. Don't forget your sunscreen.
Point. Of course not. I'm going to the beach.
Counterpoint. Don't drink the water.
Point. I never drink water when I'm on vacation. Only cerveza.
Cerveza.
Ah.
See.
Yes, she. Point. Watermelon isn't good any other time of year besides summer.
Counterpoint. It's always summer somewhere in the world.
Counterpoint. There's too many damn seeds even when you get a seedless watermelon.
Counterpoint. 0 is too many?
Point, yes.
Concede.
Point. Emrakul's tentacles are a delightful shade of purple.
Counterpoint. It goes nicely with most of my wardrobe.
Point. The other tentacles sprouted by other creatures are also quite nice.
Counterpoint. Why can't we get tentacle clothes?
Point. I wish we did have tentacle clothes because I think I may be growing one myself.
Counterpoint. Are you okay? Have you been touched by the void? Counterpoint. Counterpoint. Counterpoint.
Yes!
Agreed. Point. Little oranges are better oranges.
Point. Little boxes are better boxes.
Point. Never trust a man with large hands.
Vans are too big.
The little butt piece of bread is the most delicious.
Counterpoint. Everyone hates the butt piece of bread. It's called the knob end for a reason. I don't like wearing socks anymore. It's cold.
You'd think they would agree on more things, considering they're the same person.
I never thought about it that way.
They have equal strength and equal intellect, but not equal opinions.
Well, I guess one of them comes from a world ravaged by Eldrazi.
That'll do it.
Well, we're all tapped out, so until next week, pass the turn to you. Good night.
If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.